to the fireside chat. How are you?
I'm good, but I have a general question, which is, uh, where's the where's the fireplace? A fireside chat sort of implies a fireplace, but
Well, it's
I
just
haven't seen.
fire. That's you're actually in fire. That's can't you see the flames licking? Think of poor Dave. His arms are just there, freaking all the time, burning up.
I'm just, I'm still trying to figure out when people say fireside chat, what the difference between a fireside chat and a regular chat is. Where if we just have a chat, what makes it a fireside chat? What
Well,
aspect of it makes it
well, that's a
fireside?
good question. But I mean, I just used the term fireside chat because this all started when I was at TPG, and we started getting more and more people, and we were using Microsoft Teams at the time, I think actually. But so what I would do was get, and nobody knew each other. It was like 50 or 60 of us who were part
Wow.
of a company, and it ended up being more people. But we had a sort of like a water cooler chat in Teams, and before that Skype. But what I thought would be a good idea, because nobody else was doing it, was to just each day I'd ask someone, I'd invite them to answer 5 questions from the fireside chat and provide a picture. But it was all sort of asynchronous. But it was just a way of us, like, people would provide pictures of them with their dogs and things like just and and it was just very it was it was just a way of getting to know people a bit better, and it seemed to work
Yeah.
quite well. That's why this is resurrected, not fireside chat. So
I like it, but I'm uh, I don't know. I got a lot of pet peeves about language, and I'm old.
yeah, well,
I'm old, but
this is
you
the
know,
words that I use. I mean, it's fireside because it's supposed to be friendly.
I like that.
That's
So friendly chat. Maybe we should call it friendly
yeah, cool.
chat.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, of course it's friendly. Well, I mean, I don't know. You're my 13th. Uh,
13.
yeah, I've done 12.
Holy God.
Two of them being uh, Hayden, because he didn't get through the Rose Gallery the first time. So, but he's good. Yeah, he's good fun. He's got a lot to say. So I really enjoyed talking to him. But
Yeah, yeah,
what I generally have found is that a lot of the people I've talked to I've known for years, but haven't really talked to
yeah.
them much, and I harboured sort of dislikes of them for some reason. But upon talking to them, I really warmed to all of them, which is great.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm trying to think of something smart ass to say here about you warming to people, or people warming to you. But no, that doesn't surprise me. If no, I will say, um, well, when we get together face to face, and not just we, but I'm going to say the highlight when we have when just I'll just put it very directly. When we have TPAC every year, um, there's two people I look forward to spending time with, literally more than anybody else, and just talking to is you and Pat,
yeah,
and the two of you
thank you.
together. Individually, you are both just a lot of fun. But to put the two of you together to sit and at the end of the evening and spend time talking to you, I don't even have
Yeah.
to talk. I mean, it's more just listening to the two of you go on. And
Yeah, well, we're like the those two from the Muppets, the two that sit in the gallery and they sit in
yeah,
the
but
box. Yeah,
well, what I can say, I mean, we've all got differing personas depending on where we are operating and communicating. but we all have an online persona that people encounter and that they uh, make an evaluation of us from, especially if they've never met us face to face, right?
Yeah, yeah,
We come across very differently. I mean, you have this encounter with people where when they meet you face to face, they'll say, "Wow, I just had a very completely different idea of what you were like based on how you are online."
yeah. Well, yeah. Well, they're sort of
But it,
communicating through issues. You know, it's argumentative, isn't it? There's a lot of argument
yeah, I
or
mean, that's
space
part of the
to,
problem.
yeah,
Yeah, that's like that. You hit the nail on the head there. I think this is like fundamentally the problem that we have with some of our um, personality clashes with the bad blood that is developed, I mean, amongst
yeah,
some of us over the years, is that the nature of the problem solving that we have to do together is that
adversarial.
we have disagreements,
Yeah.
and it's not fun. It's not fun to have to, you know,
I mean,
um,
what
yeah,
I've noticed, Mike, over the years, because I was involved in, well, you were there at the time, and I was involved in HTML development, HTML5 in particular, and there was a lot of young people involved, young people
yeah,
that had, sort of social uh, constraints on them, and I think that like it's just a lot of antisocial people involved, and they were young, and so when you're young, and I was younger too, I was more argumentative.
yeah,
Then I
yeah.
was, I just stirred up a lot of shit. Um,
Well, there's this whole thing of I don't know if you ever read the book, but there's a book that's easy to make fun of, especially from the title. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People.
oh yeah, is that Dale
And
Carnegie or something?
yeah, Dale Carnegie. Yeah,
Yeah,
Dale Carnegie. And the thing is, if you read that book and you have any sense at all, um, it just all seems obvious. This is the
yeah,
way you should behave. But the thing is, it's not obvious to a lot of people, I think. And when you read it, it reinforces the fact that you think it's obvious or you write it off as something that's just, um, you know, uh, just stating universal truths or something. Um, you need to be reminded. But one of the statements that he makes in that book, which was written like whatever, 100 years ago almost or
yeah.
something, I think, when he started that, is you can't win an argument. Even if you think you've triumphed in an argument, somebody else has lost, and you have alienated somebody, or however else you want to expand on that. This is the point that it's making. You don't win people over when you win an argument.
Yeah,
You may walk away from it, having decided, or having a lot of other people decided too, that yeah, you triumphed in the argument, but that doesn't buy you goodwill from
no,
the people who
no,
lost
yeah,
the argument. And so, but there are, because we have some people that we work with, we've known over the years who kind of fall into that personality trait of not being able to suffer or to bear losing an argument. They they
yeah.
have
But
to,
that's
and that
antithetical to good standards, though, isn't it?
right. I mean, at some point you have to. Well, I mean, there's lots of ways to gracefully get out of it. One of the simplest ones is just to tell somebody, "Yeah, you're right." Even if because they are
Mm.
right in some way. You're not saying they're absolutely right, but you want to have, especially with people that you have to continue working with, that you're going to have to continue working productively with. You want to figure out some way that you can get along together and not alienate people. But the other
But
point that I was going to make about you is that I think when people meet you face to face and spend time with you, and like I said, especially in that situation like you and Pat, I cannot imagine them not warming to you.
Oh,
And
well,
not,
that's good.
yeah, I mean, and I think this is true of most people. I mean, there's not a lot of people who, when you have a chance to get them out of argument mode and disagreement mode and be face to face in human being mode together, that you're going to find something to like about them. You're going to find something that you have in common, because that's what we want to do, right? You don't want to sit there
Yeah,
and
yeah.
face
That's
to
probably
face and
part of
just
the
like hate on
phenomenon
each
of,
other. So
why,
yeah,
yeah, why I've been enjoying my conversations with people because of that.
yep, yep. So yeah, I
For
would.
sure. I just wanted to explain the reason why I've got your picture next to Billy Bob Thornton is at one point I saw your picture. I thought, fuck, that's Billy Bob Thornton. I really like Billy Bob, by the way. He's a good actor.
Well,
I
have
enjoy.
I told you about this? Because my wife
No.
has also said this, that um
Oh, really?
yeah, but she doesn't like Billy Bob Thornton. She's just
So it's just
uh
like you.
yeah, and so when if I don't shave and I start getting a beard going, or whatever, the more I start to look like Billy Bob, uh
The less
the
happy she
more,
is.
what can I say? The less she
Well,
warms to me,
yeah.
the less warmth I feel. So
Oh well, it's a way for you to stand back a bit, isn't it? You can grow your beard and be
right.
alone and then go back in, shave it off. Wow. Yeah, but that's the reason why. I mean, if I'm around people long enough, I tend to see parallels between people. Like I've got this picture of Adrian Rosselli, who
Yeah.
you know, don't you? Well, you know of, and a picture of Ayn Rand, and he looks exactly the same. Facially, if you put his the Ayn Rand's hair on his head, you think it was Ayn Rand.
Oh
Anyway,
man.
yeah, I mean
Well,
it's
I have one more thing to be grateful for, that I don't look
you don't look
like
like
Ayn
Ayn
Rand.
Rand. Yeah.
But I don't think
Uh,
he does. I mean, I've met
no, but
Adrian,
I
and
mean, I'll show you the picture, and then you'll see what I'm
okay,
talking about. I mean, it
okay.
doesn't. I mean, Anne Rand's not someone that sticks in my head. So I saw a picture of her, and I saw a picture of him. And I thought, fuck, they're the same person. Anyway, um, what I wanted to do was I've got a special picture, not that one.
Okay.
Um, that I because again, like throughout the years, I've taken pictures of you amongst other people, and so I've got quite a few pictures now. But
I think you. I hope this is not one picture of me like passed out drunk somewhere, because
no,
I
no,
know you
no,
have some
no,
of
not
those.
at all, not at all.
Okay.
Um, it's a friendly chat, remember?
Well, that wouldn't be
Uh,
unfriendly necessarily, but it would just
no,
be
but yeah, I mean, I've got plenty of those, but it's yeah, because I went through this phase of capturing you sort of half asleep in a TPAC meeting and sort of saying,
I do
ever
that too. I didn't
vigilant or
have to be
something.
drunk. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
you put
was
me in a
throughout
TPAC
these.
meeting in the afternoon in a different time zone, and
I
yeah.
remember meeting you when you came to CSUN back,
Oh,
well, this is
CSUN,
like 12
yeah,
years ago, or
I
maybe
was,
more.
I think it was more than that actually, but yeah, I half remember that
You, yeah,
that
well, I'm
event.
surprised you even half remember it because you were, well, when I saw you, it was like I went up to there's a bar at the top of the hotel called something like the
Yeah.
bar at the top of the hotel, and I walked in and it's quite dark, and I looked over and then I like saw this thing or person sort of animating, and it was you, and you had all these rings on your fingers at the time.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So hold on, sorry, I've just got to. Everything's been going so well, and now I've got to find. Oh, share. All right. Now,
Okay. I see
Okay,
Pat.
there.
Oh yeah.
This is the photo I wanted to show you initially because it was,
Okay.
I don't know if it was the first time I met you, but it was a long time ago. Well, we both
Yeah,
had,
that's
we both had dark hair.
that's
That
been a
was
while.
that was like 2007 or 2008 in Mandaloo.
That was in Mandaloo.
Yeah.
Oh wow. So yeah, that's been a long time. That's got to be 2008, I guess. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
And so that's Henny Swan and the guy called Andrew Ronskley, who's around. I don't know, he's doing something in accessibility, but I see his name around. But
yeah, there
it's a
was
shame that it's a bit shaky, the photo, but it's just
I
a
kind of like the aesthetic a bit actually. It's
yeah.
nice and blurry. That's how photos should be. I mean, a photo from the past that should eventually just sort of just like completely blur and become faded,
Fade
just like our
away.
memories do, right? Yeah.
Okay.
But that's
So
that's so yeah. How many years has that been? So that's
it's
18. Is that
19
18?
years or something.
Yeah. Oh, I see some other familiar faces there. Yeah.
Yes. Well, this is the fireside chat. This is the Rogues Gallery. So now we get into the meat of it. So top left, do you know who this? But people just don't know who he is, and I keep fucking banging on about him.
That's Bill Swallow?
That's Dave Swallow. Yes,
Dave Swallow.
Swallow.
Dave's I
Yes,
got the swallow part
Doctor
right. Yeah.
David Swallow, PhD. Um,
Yeah, I don't know that I've met David Swallow in person. I mean, I've certainly
yeah,
seen.
probably
Well,
not because
yeah, I know of him through you, I guess, mainly.
yeah. Well, he's yeah, he looms large in the canon of my life, but he is a good friend, and hopefully I'll see him because this year Tetralogical is having their face to face in York, and
Okay,
David lives just outside York because one
well, that
one
makes
of
sense.
our one of the people that we work with is getting married, and so and they live in York. So
Hmm.
some of us are going to the wedding at the end of the week.
Oh,
So I'll get to
that'll be a
see
blast.
Dave O, which will be great. Um,
Hmm.
now, who's the? I put this shot in because it's from the other day. Um, a big event on the calendar of accessibility wise is CSUN. I
Hmm.
usually attend. I haven't gone because um, various reasons. Major one being I didn't want to go to America.
Yeah, right on.
But for those people that are still in America, I said to H, you got any pictures? And he sent me this one of himself and Carl Groves saying hello
Oh,
in
that's
his own,
Carl. Yeah. Okay.
yeah, in inevitable fashion. And I had a chat with Carl, an enjoyable chat with Carl recently as well, which you could,
Right, right.
have you
Yeah.
have you listened to any of these fireside chats?
Of course I have.
Okay. So, oh, well, that's good. I hope you've been enjoying them. So, who's next on here?
Well, that would be Pat, of course.
Yes, that was from a recent. We met up in Birmingham a month or two back, and Pat cooked us a wonderful meal, and we stayed in a Airbnb for the weekend. That was me, Dave, and Pat, and we just
I didn't know
pretended
Pat
we.
was. What did Pat cook for you?
It's some sort of pasta dish. It's just
Okay.
it.
Well, I can cook for you sometime. We'll have a competition. I cook pretty good meat sauce with a
Oh, good, good. Well,
combination of
yeah. I mean,
like a ragu and cream
yeah, well,
sauce. So,
that's what it was. It was similar to that. It was just nice. We just had a really because the weather was shit. Um, Dave went out walk around because where we were staying was right in the middle of town, but it's Birmingham is such a shitty place. I'm afraid to say. Even though all my family come from there, we actually met up with
oh,
Bruce for a beer, and a second cousin of mine came along as well. Um, so that was nice. But
good.
yeah, it's just nice to spend time and chillax with Pat. Even though I work with him and I manage him, well, barely manage anyway. Um, but it's always nice to spend some time with him.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
fun.
I will have to say a shout out. I don't know if you're aware, but Pat's going great guns as the YK2 Backlog Task Force Administrator, or whatever it's called. You know,
The backlog.
Lord of the backlog. But he's just doing a really good, like, because you are probably aware, but WCAG has thousands of documents, techniques,
Yeah.
understanding how to meet. A lot of those, or the majority of them, had no updates for like 10 years. So there
Oh,
was,
geez.
still talking uh, about stuff like applets and things like that. Um, so what Pat and the other people involved have been doing is going through making it, making the documents up to date. Sky O'Hara's involved as well, and Francis Storr and a few
Okay,
other.
good.
Yeah, there's a really good group that has minimal sort of the signal to noise ratio is low,
Well, there's a
which is
lot.
great.
Some of those technique docs show up sometimes in issue reports for the HTML checker,
Yeah,
and people say, okay, the HTML checker is reporting an error warning for this thing, which is straight out of a technique stock.
yeah,
And yeah, the problem is that the technique stock isn't in conformance with the current ARIA spec or the ARIA in HTML spec, and
yeah.
I can't fix that. But yeah, I'm glad those documents are getting updated. The other thing that Pat does is the pointer events
Yes.
working group, right? Which is It's a big chunk of work just on its own. That's yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done there, and there's a lot of people working on it. So I'm glad,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's still got yeah, they got their work cut out for them, as they say.
But yeah, I'm just happy he's there. I mean, some people are sort of, well, we got WCAG 3, so why don't you work on WCAG 3? The
Yeah,
reality is for, accessory practitioners is that WCAG 2 is going to be around for a long
yeah,
time.
and that's still what you see everybody citing when they talk
Yeah.
about, you know. So who's this
Well,
next photo
who's
to the
that next
right?
photo?
I don't
I thought
recognize.
that's Makoto Ueki.
Oh, yeah. So, well, I don't know that I've ever met him face to face. I mean, of
Oh,
course, I
really?
know, yeah, I've
I
had
thought,
some online interaction with him, I guess. I mean, he's not a person who files issues against the checker, at least.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. So Makoto, I think he lives in Tokyo. I don't know. Pat caught up with him when he was in Japan, and they went to some underground water, like a tank or something, or some sort of underground facility that
that
doesn't
sounds
have
like
water.
that sounds like a pool. It sounds like you're describing a
Yeah, no,
pool.
no, there's no water in it. It's like a huge sort of storage facility, but it's underground. I don't know where it was. You can ask
Okay.
Pat, but Pat made lots of videos of himself riding around on those little e-bikes, e-scooters and stuff. He had a great time. He
I
really
haven't
enjoyed.
I haven't seen that. I have to look for that. Maybe
Yeah,
you can point me to it.
I'll point you to it. These YouTube videos. I mean, they're sort of background viewing, put it that way. But anyway, that's Makoto Ueki, and Makoto is he's a larger than life character, that's for sure. He's quite often he goes to accessory TO. He's always there, like CSUN. I think he went to CSUN this year, and accessory TO and TPAC. He's always around.
I don't think I've seen him at TPAC. I cannot remember meeting him.
Ah, well, hopefully he will be at TPAC in Dublin in, is it September, October, November?
I don't remember, but yeah, it is going to be in Dublin.
And
I'm
hopefully
excited.
you'll be there too. We'll all be
Yeah,
there.
I, sh- I should be. Um, so the next one I see there is Mike Paciello.
Yes.
Yeah,
I don't think I did him a great service when I
it, it
pulled
squeezed
the
you,
photo. It looks like his chins are out about three
you,
meters
you
long.
squeezed him. Is you've
Yeah, well,
made him
that's I'm
squeeze
not
there.
very good with the photo chopping, that's for sure. As we know, Mike is a long-term friend of mine, and he was my boss for many a good year. And I wouldn't be where I am today without him. I've got a lot of time for Mike, even though you're probably unaware, but he went and he's now working at a place called Audio Eye, which is an overlay, well, mainly an overlay vendor. And the
Good Lord.
Audio Eye, the company sued Adrian at one point for his comments about this was, historically. So it's
I'm
sort of out.
I mean, my first impression is that's kind of disappointing that he would be investing his time in an
Well,
overlay
a lot of
company.
people are disappointed, but Mike, he's coming to the end of his career, and I think he wanted to challenge, and he's always, been this person that gets, tries to build bridges, and I think that that's what he's trying to do. It's a bigger bridge than
Well,
than
that's
I've been
interesting.
prepared.
I hope I hope he succeeds at
Yeah,
making
well,
something useful out of it.
Yeah,
Then
so do I. So do I. I don't know. I mean, I'm actually talking to him on the fireside in a couple of weeks, so we'll get the skinny there. But what I've been like, I understand the why Adrian doesn't talk to him because of the legal nature of things, but other people have just like spurned him because of it. I was thinking, fuck, I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah, I shouldn't get into this because it's just one of my bugbears. But
well, yeah, but yeah, no, you never stop talking to somebody, I guess,
no,
and well, I mean, there's something I can imagine that somebody might do that would give you good reason for that, but not not
yeah.
not being employed
Well,
somewhere. Jesus.
I mean, there's also the aspect of, I don't begrudge anybody. Like, you know, I mean, the sort of places where people work, if you work for Google, if you work for um, Anthropic or wherever you go, you're going to have moral dilemmas and moral, sort of like
Yeah,
companies
yeah,
generally shit. I mean, there's no two
yeah. You
ways about
don't. Yeah, that's true. So, well, so I see Gene Spellman down there as the next one. I don't know
it.
if we're going through
Yes,
these all or
yes, Gene
yeah.
Spellman. Um,
Haven't seen Gene for a long time.
no, I think she's still tangentially involved in Wake 3, but I think she's largely retired. But she used to work at W3C for years, didn't she?
Yes, she did. She did. She's great. She's a wonderful colleague and
Yeah,
a wonderful one person.
yeah, she is. She's good peoples. Talking of good peoples, who's this next character?
That's my good friend. Lives right down the street from me, Dominic Danicola. He literally
Doesn't
does.
live
So
down
there's
the street. He lives in Tokyo.
yeah. I don't think there's any. No, he that's a there's not secret. He's been living in Tokyo for
Oh, I
more than
did.
2 years.
Yeah, I mean, I don't keep up with his whereabouts.
But
I
there's a
just
yeah.
so
So there's a big street in Tokyo that's called Yamate Dori. It's kind of the western edge of central Tokyo, I guess you could say, but it runs north south roughly. Well, it's kind of circular, semicircular, let's say, but I guess I could say it runs roughly north south. And so I live in an area of Tokyo that's called Nakano-ku. That's it's more of a middle class neighborhood, I guess. We could say we don't have as clear class distinctions in a lot of neighborhoods, but as you go in the other direction on Yamate Dori, you get to the kind of nicer part of town, which towards Shibuya and Meguro. There's an area called Meguro-ku, and there's these other. It gets nicer. It's a nicer part of town. And when I say we live on the same street, it is. We both live along Yamate Dori, but if I walk to where Dominic's area is, it takes me about an hour and let's say 10 minutes, hour 15 minutes walk. And I do walk it because to take the train, it takes almost as long. I think the train takes about 50 minutes. So take the walk instead. But yeah, he lives close enough that I can walk to where he is, and we can meet for lunch or
So
whatever.
is he someone you hang out with on a regular basis?
Well, you know how it is. I don't know how it is with you, but we always talk about it. And uh, when he was still working at Google at the Google offices, um, we would meet more often. It's just easier to meet there. Um, it's going into the office anyway, and I
So
would meet
where
with other people there too.
where is he working now?
He's retired.
Fucking
He's
hell.
yeah, he's quit. He retired from Google and he retired from editing the HTML spec and other things that he's working on. He's still doing some work on the libraries that he is
I mean, how old's the
recording.
guy? He's pushing
Yeah, he's
30.
not. He's a youngster. He's still a youngster. So you
Yeah,
got to
but
admire that.
obviously he made enough money. Fuck. I'm jealous
I'm
now.
not sure what. I mean, I guess he's got enough money to pay his rent and everything, but I'm not sure he's primarily motivated by money at this point. Like the rest of us, I mean, I've talked about this with him. He's thinking about the future and where things are headed. And I mean, yeah, I think uh, y- collectively we don't have a great idea where things are going to be 5 years from now with
No.
technology, because of LLMs and AI and coding agents.
I
And
mean,
the thing
what's
with the
your
coding
take
agents,
on this LLM stuff and the AI? I mean, it for me, I haven't like everybody seems to be going in gangbusters for it, but it just seems to be causing a lot of mayhem.
well, it is causing some mayhem for sure. I mean, and in different ways, right? I mean, the biggest we there's social problems with it clearly. Outside of how outside of the utility of it, weighed against the social costs. Um, I mean, of course, the thing of how much energy it requires to
Yeah,
power these things. But as far as the utility of it, um, so I'm not like a 10x engineer, but I know a lot of 10x engineers and a lot of people that I work with who are employed working on browser engines in particular. I mean, this is the space that I've always
yeah.
worked in for years before I even came to W3C when I was working at Opera. I'd work with people, I've worked on browser engines and the work that I've been doing at the W3C is largely, working closely with engineers from WebKit and from Chromium and from Gecko, and now with Ladybird and Servo um, and what
So
I can
what is
say, yeah.
what's your focus work wise? Your W3C
Uh,
work wise currently?
well, I spend time doing the normal stuff that we have to do, which is getting groups chartered and rechartered. Our process requires groups to be rechartered every 2 years,
Yeah,
and there's a fairly, from my point of view at least, labor-intensive
yeah.
uh, process that requires a person to to get the rechartering work done. And I say this right now, having being in a state where I am behind on my responsibility for two groups. One is the WebAssembly Working Group, which is now is under a charter extension for 6 months that needs to be rechartered. And it's only blocked on me basically getting together with the chairs to get a new charter written based on the old charter plus some changes that need to be made.
So you'll have to do that within the 6 months.
Yeah, I think we got until the end of May. But yeah, it's I just put these things off because I always have something honestly that's more interesting to
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
or that I find, I will say, more interesting. I mean, you know, I want to spend my time working on ways to make the web better for people as directly as I can. And if you want to take it all the way back to first principles, I want to, you know, I hope that what I end up doing and spending my time on results in making people happier. That if they have some use for the web that they find rewarding. I mean, like for example, there's a lot of people that want to use the web for entertainment. This is
yeah,
not, it's not my purpose in life to. I mean, some people want to entertain, but I sort of feel like most people are probably already spending too much of their time being entertained and not enough on thinking,
yeah.
reflection, contemplation. But I don't know how to turn the web into something that
Well, again,
facilitates more reflection and contemplation.
well,
Um,
again, for the vast majority of people, you're not going to be able to, but obviously, um, for the people that are contemplative or thoughtful, there is the possibility, such as yourself. You
yeah.
know, I
But so
don't,
what?
yeah, I
Well, what
don't,
I say, yeah.
sorry, go on.
Well, just okay. So figuring out how I spend my time. I spend my time on the checker. That makes a difference for people. Um,
Definitely.
One aspect of the checker that's important, and you are the one that's highlighted this to me more than anybody else, is how very difficult it is to produce um, ARIA marked up content that doesn't that isn't broken, that's doing what
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
supposed to be doing. It's
yeah,
just the most complicated form of what the checker needs to be trying to help trying to help people do. And so, yeah, I mean, the time I spend on that, if I can make that tool help people and help library authors,
yeah,
who are uh, controlling the kind of ARIA markup that CMSs and stuff generate, to get it like working the way that it should, then that I can consider that a win. That's making
yeah,
life that,
definitely, definitely.
yeah. So that's helping. So that's one thing. The time that I spend on those features in the checker.
I've
Um,
noticed that there's been more activity of late because it was quiet for a while, but you've been fixing stuff lately.
well, so yeah, there was a period of time. Well, there is, before I was single. Um, I've been married twice. I'm second marriage now, and my first marriage, I had a child who's 28 now, but this is the whole reason I moved to Japan um, to begin with. But there was a period of time where I was single, separated, well, divorced, but I still had a child to um, take care of, and that was my whole
Yeah,
purpose for being here and doing the work that I did and for moving to begin with. Uh, but still, I had a, a lot more freedom because my daughter wasn't living with me. I saw her on the weekends, and we spent, I would spend as much time with her on the weekend as I was able to get her mother to agree to. Um, but the rest of the week, I was able to put as much time into work and doing stuff. Uh, and so, yeah, back then, let's say up until around 2000 and around 2015 or so, I had a lot more freedom with my time. But what happened in
She's got
around
three kids. Is it
2015?
three?
Yeah, I got three kids now. So I got remarried, and then I had another child in 2015. And then, yeah, my productivity and my amount
Okay. Yeah.
of what discretionary time to put into anything except dealing with my kids. So I had a child in 2015. I had another one 2017 and another one in 2020. And
Fuck
so
yeah.
I got three kids at home under 10. And so, yeah, from 2015 on, the amount of time that I could put into the checker went down pretty drastically. And you know how it is with kids, having one kid is a certain requires a certain amount of time and energy. You have two kids, and it's not a linear sort of increase in the time and energy that's required. It starts to go, exponential, and you have
Yeah.
three, and
Ah,
yeah, it's you you uh you have quite a bit less time. So around 2020, after my youngest was born, then yeah, I had very little free time. So for those 5 years between 2020 or so and the end of last year, I didn't manage to figure out a way to do maintenance on the checker in the way that I wanted to. And what that meant is that the open issues piled up. And so I think back when I started figuring out a way to address this back in October, I had 300 open issues.
wow.
And I had about 40 of those were ARIA issues,
Yeah.
specifically that I had labeled and understood 40 of them at least. And each of those issues, some of them are pretty quick to dispense with or to resolve, but some of them are really just big chunks of
Gnarly.
stuff that it takes. Um, but yeah, so around October, I started trying to figure out a way to work through those systematically and uh, and I managed to do it. I mean, the punchline is like I now have one open issue and I
Wow.
know exactly how to resolve it. And what it's the only thing it's waiting on is I am working on a related code change to the HTML parser that the checker uses, and it's also used by Firefox. And I got it reviewed, and Henry Sivonen, who's the owner for that, has told me let's go ahead and merge it. But he also had a suggestion about something that would make it better, something that I'd overlooked. And I said, well, let's go ahead and change it while we both are paying attention, because I think if I waited to do the thing that he said, we could wait on, it would be a long time before, relatively long time before we landed that. So I wanted to get everything landed at once and be able to walk away from it and be able to use it for the checker so that I can get that one remaining checker issue resolved. And then I'll be to, um, issue zero.
That's
And I
yeah,
also,
that's
yeah,
great. Well, until the
yeah.
next issue comes along. You mentioned Henry Seven. I hadn't heard like I know his name very well. I know of him, but I met him. I mean, but not for many years. Is he still active? Well, it sounds like he's semi-active.
Yeah, Henry's still working on Firefox and working,
Oh, he's still
he's
working
the,
on Firefox.
yeah,
So
he's the maintainer for some core parts of the code still.
What's
pretty active
happening with
there.
Firefox? I mean, is it? I always just feel as if Firefox is just about to disintegrate. Mozilla. Do you have any insight into what's going on?
Well, so the other stuff that I work on, in addition to working on the checker, that I that I like to work on because it does make a difference for people. So I use Firefox. I use everything. There's a lot of people using Firefox, and so if I can do a patch for a feature that gets into Firefox, then that's
Yep.
going out to literally like millions of people and making a difference for people. So yeah, the way that I know, I mean, I also talk to, I know a lot of people working at Mozilla, so I talk with them, but the way more intimately that I know how things are going at Firefox is I write a patch. I recently wrote a patch for an open DOM thing for custom elements, and I did the same patch for Firefox, and I did it for WebKit. Went through the review process for both of them, and yeah, so my point of view from that as a contributor is still it's going great. I mean, when I
Well, that's good. I'm
yeah
happy to hear that. I mean, I've always been a Firefox supporter, but to be honest, I haven't used it as much lately. You've been using Chrome. Also use Vivaldi, which is
yeah
which is Bruce's thing now.
yeah well, Vivaldi, I used to work at Opera, and
Yes,
engineers
yes,
a bunch of the engineers who used to work at Opera have moved to Vivaldi and are working there. One of them is a guy that when I first got involved in standards, got involved with the guy that I was closely working on. There's this thing called the CA Browser Forum, the CAB Forum, which is that's the certificate authorities and people from the browser companies together to work on things related to certs, um, for SSL, for TLS. And at the time when I first was at Opera, Charles, who was in charge of standard stuff for Opera, somewhat, I mean, along with Håkan, said, "Hey, here's this thing going on. There's this guy Ingve who's involved with it, and you and Ingve could go and do this, participate in this stuff together." And that's how I got involved with standard stuff. And Ingve is still working at Vivaldi. I just saw he posted something to the Chromium Slack channel, one of the channels in Chromium Slack. So yeah, everybody's going strong. I mean, the people have been working on this stuff. Well, I mean, I've been involved since a little bit after WhatWG started, so say 2005, 2006. But I mean, there's people obviously been involved much longer than that, and some of them still basically doing the same thing they've been doing for the last,
Well,
this
if you
has got to
find
be
something
30
you
years.
enjoy or that works, then just do it. I mean, one of the things that I was piqued my interest about Vivaldi is the structure of the company, or that it's everybody has a share, and it's similar to a Gallia in that way, and
Yeah.
I like the sound of that. It
Well,
sounds
the guy, so Vivaldi was created by Johann von Teschner, who created opera, was a CEO, and Johan's got a great way of looking at things.
yeah,
He's he's a great person to work with, work for. So yeah, I can understand that there must be a really exceptional place to work. I mean, for a certain
yeah.
kind of person, there's a lot of people who wouldn't work well in that environment. I don't think, like the way that Yom would tend to set things up, but there's a lot of people who would. I mean, I think of opera as just when I didn't work at opera for that long, but when I got there after being there, I felt at home. I felt like, okay, this is the kind of place I want to work, because people were encouraged to try, um, what can I say, wild ideas that it was open to that, to
Yeah, it's a shame.
not,
I remember
yeah,
when they decided that to shut down the development of the browser engine. What was it
yeah,
called?
yeah. It was Presto, yeah.
Presto. Yeah, I remember that you were. This was many years ago now, but I remember you being quite upset at the time about it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it was a big loss. I mean, anytime we lose a browser engine
yeah.
development, anybody, I mean, I felt that way about losing Presto and Opera. Um,
What about
you know,
IE?
yeah, it was the same thing with IE. I mean, it was the same thing with Edge or what it got
Yes,
eventually into.
yes.
That was a big
Well,
loss. I mean, I'm not
yeah,
saying it was a bad business decision or anything like that in either case, but for us, you know, we benefit from having as many independent projects implementing the stuff that we do because it never gets worse when we get more implementers. It always gets better. A new implementer always finds that something new that everybody else overlooked. I mean, that's what's been happening with Servo. It's what's been happening with Ladybird. You get people coming in um, without assumptions or without the same set of coming in new. They just have a fresh
yeah.
point of view, and it helps make everything. It helps make our specs better. And when the specs better, the other implementations get better. And so, yeah, yeah, we want to have
So
more
you're
engines.
thinking this reskinning and sort of basically having Blink under the covers is a retrograde step.
No, I mean, you still got great engineers working. Some of the Opera still employs, as a company, there are still people who are working on Chromium and Blink who work for Opera.
Yeah,
Um, and so, yeah, there's still great engineering work going on, and um, and the stuff's still getting better. I mean, it's you can't fault the company for making a business decision to not keep putting money and resources into something if their business evaluation is they ain't making money off of it or it's not
yeah,
leading. I mean, that's the other problem that we have. None of these uh, engines are being sold as a product. This has always been
right.
the problem that we've had with browser engine development is it's a cost center. It's not a revenue center. It's nothing.
Yeah,
And so every one of these projects is always at risk of not being able to sustain the funding that they currently have, losing funding, losing people. I mean, people uh, get poached away, or I want to
yeah,
say that because it's negative, but I say they have opportunities elsewhere. Everybody who's working on on a useful application has, you know, marketable opportunity to go somewhere else, and so yeah, it's hard. It's hard to sustain for anybody to sustain work on a browser engine and make be able to fund it. I mean, it's
yeah. You've got to have fairly deep pockets. That's why I suppose it's the large organisations. Can we get back to
right.
the Rogues Gallery because I really want to finish
Okay.
this. So next to Dominic is
That's Judy Brewer, of
yeah,
course.
Judy
Judy, I
Brewer.
haven't
Yeah,
seen.
Blast from the Past. I've got this really great picture of Judy and Shardy. Like I'm looking down a stairwell at TPAC. This is a while ago, and I've got Shardy and Judy in their mobility squad. Shardy's in his wheelchair, and Judy's on a mobility scooter, but it's sort of like looking from down. It looks like a real huddle, and that's the way I always remembered the
Cool.
way people. There was always whispering and huddling, and as soon as I would turn up, they would sort of like look the other way or try to it was there was always lots of intrigue. I don't know if that is still the case. I don't think it is as much, but yeah. I
Well, Shadi's still around at
yeah,
WTC.
Shuddy, yeah.
And Judy, I have to admit, I don't know where Judy's working. I
No,
last I
nor do
heard,
I.
yeah, she had a relatively sort of influential position
Yeah,
in the government, but I don't know if it's the same case now or.
yeah, I don't. Yeah, well, it would be difficult to have any influence on the current government. Um, I yeah, this like I was looking for because the first presentation I ever did was in 2005, and I had this screenshot of a glass engraving of Tim Berners-Lee. It
Uh-huh.
was made, but I couldn't find it. But I found this, and supposedly the person in the middle here is Tim Berners-Lee. But I don't know why they go in for doing these sort of strange sort of arty sort of face mask. It's really weird. I mean, I couldn't if I looked at that, I couldn't tell it was Tim Berners. I hardly. It's difficult to know whether someone is human or not. But it's an
Well,
interesting.
those look like the things that they used to do in previous centuries, like with
Yeah,
Beethoven. The death mask is what
the
you
death
called them.
mask. Yes, yes,
They look
exactly.
like death masks.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
don't know.
they're definitely a step up from the glass engraved pictures. I'll have to find that as well because it's just I was just thinking at the time, what the fuck are they doing? Why are they making this shit? But anyway, um, that was
Huh.
so we've got Bruce down here. We've already talked about Bruce. There is you patrolling at
Oh
TPAC.
yeah.
Yeah, that was in Seville. I
That was a
got
wonderful.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was really it was a pleasant experience, Seville. Um,
Yeah.
I remember at the time that I got accused of stalking you because I was taking pictures. But yeah,
Well,
I
they
am a
were good.
creep.
They're
Um,
good photos.
next to you,
That would be James Craig, who is also quite wonderful to work with. And yeah, I just like him both as a person. I look forward to seeing him and spending time with him, talking with him. But also, he's a great problem solver.
yes, he's very good. I mean, I've been yeah had interaction with him over the years many a time. Um, And then again, that was at TPAC in Seville. Do you know who the next person is?
No, I don't know
That
her.
is Natalie Patrice Tucker. She's an
Okay,
accessibility advocate. She works in nobility, which is
I know Billy. Sure, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Um, so she's been there for a number of years, and I first encountered her at CSUN like 2014.
Yeah.
Went and got stoned with her. It was great. Um,
I don't think I've met her.
yeah, she's very full of effusive and full of life. Um, I interviewed her a while back.
Has
Uh,
she been has she been at TPAC?
no, I don't think she
No,
has. She's
yeah.
just been at CSUN. I don't,
Okay.
yeah, not really TPAC sort of people, mostly nobility. Talking of TPAC sort of people, who's that person next to Natalie? Fuck, he looks
That'd be
rough there.
Charles, of course.
Yeah. I haven't seen Charles recently. I mean, he's always been a ubiquitous sort of presence at at accessibility and W3C related events. But was he at TPAC this year?
No, he wasn't. I don't think he's been at the last couple of TPACs. But the other thing about Charles, when I first started opera, I was staying in Oslo for some period of time with David Story. It's another person I haven't haven't.
David Story, yeah, he's dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, so David, I was living at David's place, which used to be Hixie's place when Hixie was in
Wow.
Oslo. They have these apartments that kind of trade hands, but anyway, I was staying there, and I don't know. Yeah, well, there was quite a bit of nightlife involved after
Yeah.
work, and at different times I ended up at the apartment where Charles was living, um, with a couple other people. But Charles wasn't around. Charles was away traveling at events, maybe W3C events. I don't know what all. I mean, he traveled a lot at that time, and everybody just kept saying to me, "We got to meet Charles. If you haven't met Charles yet, you got to meet Charles." And it was quite a bit of time it seemed like before I did finally meet Charles. But certainly, I mean, Charles is big, physically big. But if you want to describe somebody's larger than life, it's certainly
Yeah, yeah, he
he's larger
definitely
than life.
is.
He's a character, and and like I was saying earlier, the whole reason I ended up getting involved in standards was because of Charles taking an interest in me, um, enough to say, yeah, well, go off and get involved in this standard stuff. The first thing, like I said, was the CA browser forum thing, but then uh, there was other stuff going on at W3C at the time around mobile web, and that's where
How
I
did you
first
come
got
to be
involved.
working for the W3C?
Well, I was working at Opera, and Charles was involved in W3C and knew that uh, I guess I was interested in the standard side of what was going on. I mean, I had been involved with the What We G work first. Um, there was some particular things that I thought were really great, like the way that you could register a protocol handler in your browser. It's one of the early things that was put out there as a proposal, I guess, or for the what was called web applications at the time that became HTML5, was the
Yep,
idea that you could say, okay, when I click on an email link, um, a mail to
yep,
link, instead of like opening some external application, you could have it open a web application. And around 2005, Gmail had come along, and there were other
yep,
web-based email clients. So I thought this was the greatest thing I'd seen. Like this idea of, okay, yeah, we have one application open up another web application to handle a certain thing, and I guess that was, I mean, there was a number of things that were going on in that spec that interested me as things that we should be paying attention to, or that I could get involved with to make better. But another thing was geolocation. I was in Japan using Opera on a mobile phone, Keitai, as we, called it at the time, before the iPhone had come out, and before most people in the rest of the world were doing anything on mobile. We were using it every day here in Japan. And one of the things that was enabled in the in the web browsers was an ability to share your location information from your mobile phone you know, uh, with the application running on the phone,
yep.
so that you had all these use cases for location-based, location-aware applications. And so I started thinking, well, we should really have this as a standard feature as part of um browser engines, and talk to different people about it. I mean, that was one of a number of things that I got interested in. Um, and not just having in opera, but in having in standardized in some way. And
Do you,
so, yeah, that's why I started getting an interest in like, okay, well, where's the place where we can make these things happen?
do you think that
And
the amount of people involved in standards development has increased markedly?
no, I think it may be, well, I don't know. I think of it in terms of the people who aren't involved anymore. People like Hixie, who was, just sort of central to the work for years, and not, when we say for years, it was like 10 years, I think that was his
Yeah,
full-time thing. And he's not involved anymore, and he hasn't been for a long time. He went off and worked on Flutter, which is great. Everything that he's done since, well, that's the main thing that he worked on was Flutter. But as far as I'm concerned, Flutter is a um,
that's
monumental
is that a
success.
mobile application framework thing?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
UI framework and development ecosystem for developers to create, cross platform applications. And
it's
I just
yeah,
think I think it has all of the right properties that you would want in such a system,
it's got some
except
accessibility issues as
it
far as
has
I
a,
know.
oh, well, so that is something, well, I don't know because I haven't tested it, but I do know that that was something that they tried to design into it, that Hixie especially, was quite aware of and tried to design into it. Um, but I don't know. I mean, part of what
But
it, yeah,
I mean, the what I've come to realize is that whatever you're working on in standards, it's never yours. You just you keep it safe for a period of time, and then you hand it off to somebody else.
yeah,
Hopefully
sure.
someone. That's what I felt with the HTML AAM and the using ARIA is that um, you know because I started developing both of those specs and worked on them for years. I felt like there was some part of me in them, but you have to let it go
Well, I
because
don't know. I mean, so let's talk about that because um, the main, so I would not have been able to build ARIA checking into the HTML checker without the work that you did on specifying the requirements. Because although there are some people who imagine that it's possible to implement directly from the ARIA spec, as you know, in practice,
yeah,
it's not. There's not enough information there. The requirements are not there in the way that's necessary to implement them in a conformance checker. And so the work that you did for years on the spec for that, the ARIA and HTML spec was necessary for anybody that wanted to implement a conformance checker. And it still is necessary. And it's still, that spec is fundamentally the same as what it was. I mean, foundationally
yeah.
and structurally, it's
But the thing,
yeah,
the thing that Scott has done is he's just a lot more professional about, like he makes sure that you get signals from people that are going to implement all that sort of stuff, which at the time I didn't need to do because I was just really documenting the behavior as is. But
yeah,
yeah, I've got a lot of time. What I mean, obviously, I still keep an eye on things, but it's a safe pair of hands. That's what I think. And there's some of the changes that have been made I wouldn't necessarily agree with because I was quite bolshy about conformance issues, but I know that the things have been relaxed a
yeah.
bit. But again, it's my time of shepherding uh, is in the past. Well, now I'm working on this WCAG EM with the evaluation methodology with Hidi and Jeroen, two guys from the Dutch government, and I'm having fun with that because the Hidi's doing most of the hard work. I mean, what I feel I'm partially there for, because this is a document that was originally done 2014, and basically need to be updated to reflect, the modern world. Well, the fact that WCAG is being used to test web applications and kiosks and other things as well. And what I think I've brought to the the editing table, so to speak, is just saying, don't worry, don't be too precious about what was written there before, because half of it is just, it's old school, old stuff. We'll just rip it out and we'll do something else.
Yeah.
I think that Hidi in particular, but was a bit cautious about that, because it was one of the editors of this document was Shadi, and a guy called Eric Velleman, who's high up in the Dutch standards or whatever. I'm going to speak at NCD, which is some in end of May, in the Netherlands. I'm going to be talking about the WCAG. There's a big Dutch conference, and I'm going to be talking about WCAG, and the Hidi's going to be talking about WCAG 3. So that should be fun.
Well, yeah. It's been a while since you've done a presentation, as I can recall seeing at least.
Yeah,
Um,
well, I did the state of the browser a couple of years
oh yeah,
ago, but that was
yeah.
very much, I mean, I'm going to have to be a bit more professional, I think. But having said that, Hayden did present the year before, so
Okay. You got
I
a
should be
precedent.
okay.
What I'd
Yeah.
say, I mean, so yeah, this thing of you work on something, and there's a couple phenomena that happen um, in this work. Somebody, you work on a specification, and however many years later, somebody comes along, and I mean, in this, I won't even say it's an extreme case, but in one of the cases, they just tear it apart.
Yeah.
They look at it and say, well, I'm not on social media, but I know in the past and know secondhand that you still see this happening, where somebody comes later and looks at the previous work that somebody else did and just basically savages it and publicly,
Well, that's what I
writes.
was talking about.
Yeah,
Do
and
it with
but
me.
so, but um, there's tactful ways to criticize, of course, and there's better ways than
It's not so
just
much, yeah.
completely.
Sorry, it wasn't so much about criticise, just about saying, don't, fuck. Are you still there?
Yeah,
Something
yeah.
happened. Yeah, something happened. I just went dead. Um, it's more about just feeling, not letting history be the
Ins-
arbiter of
right,
a future work. I mean,
exactly.
obviously, there's some good things about. I mean, about the idea. We just developed it further, and what I'm trying to do is just say to Gideon, I mean, because I think he had a bit of PTSD because he used to work at W3C. So,
Yeah, that'll
um,
do it to you.
yeah, well, and also having some, luminaries such as Shadi being the one of the editors of the doc. So you got to be careful. But we're essentially getting feedback from people and doing stuff. So I'm pretty pleased overall with it.
Well, so sometimes people stay on too long on something. There's some cases where I think you've seen this where somebody feels too attached to closely bound to some work, some spec or whatever it is that they've worked on. It could be code that they've written in an implementation too, and
Yep.
they can end up uh, kind of being in the way, right? And sometimes you also it's good to have people step out of the way, or if you're the person who's in the way, to recognize that and say, okay, yeah, I can't as much as I still believe that I am the perfect person and that my subjective uh, judgments about what's best are just intrinsically better than everybody else's. Um, sometimes you just gotta let somebody else take over. And the other thing is, yeah, even you have to recognize that when somebody else does come in, they are not necessarily going to treat everything that you did as sacred and written in stone and eternal truths. And you have to be ready for people to um, dismantle the work that you've done.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And yeah,
exactly.
hopefully they come up with something better, or at least they come up with something that's more closely aligned to, current needs. I mean, that's
Yeah,
part of it. You can't, the stuff changes. It's a lot of things change, and something that you worked on 10 years ago and tuned and designed in a certain way for the state of, you know,
yeah,
of user experience 10 years ago, well, things are quite different now. And I don't keep up with stuff. I can say myself, I don't keep up with things as much as somebody that's coming into this new does. And somebody who has more familiarity with the current state of, where technologies are and the libraries are and how people are using things is kind of in a better position to make judgments about some of this stuff.
yeah.
So
Well,
you
one
kind of,
would hope
yeah,
so.
I can just say it's partially an act of faith, right? I
Yeah,
mean, I used to believe when I was younger that history was just um, progress forward, that
right.
everything was going to get better in my lifetime, and politically, socially, uh, and everything. That it was, it just seemed like axiomatic that that's the way that history moves. But
What
obviously, things don't always move forward.
what's the view, from the Japan about what's happening in America and the wars, etc. I mean, what 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 is the common person's view of this shit?
Well, so we just recently had an election, and I've been worried for a while about how things are going to go because we have a ruling party here who's been in power for almost entirely um, the entire post-war period here in Japan, and I used to think that they were quite extreme or reactionary is the word I actually use. I used to joke. I say we got two parties in Japan. One is the reactionary party, and one is like the slightly less reactionary party. But that was years ago, and now, they look like moderates compared to what's been happening in other
Yeah,
places. And but I at least thought so before we had this recent election. I mean, it shows how sort of naive I am. I couldn't imagine that people would end up voting in the way they did, and the way that they kind of voted, including a lot of young people, was in
yeah,
support of a movement further to the right. I mean, in the way the rest of the world's going. I mean, we see this happening everywhere. Is the other thing
yeah.
I do not understand how this has happened and why it has happened, but I do know, I think all of us know, that in part it's happened. It is a side effect of technologies that we have worked on for the last 30
Which
years.
is somewhat depressing.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty disheartening to think. I started out, you think you're going to build that if you work on helping build a system that makes it possible for people to access knowledge much more easily. Like when we were kids, this is the thing I always point to. If we had to do an essay for school that required research, that meant physically going to a library and looking through encyclopedias and checking out books and doing a lot of intensive sort of hands-on kind of uh,
Yeah,
footwork. I would call it footwork because it required getting off your ass and going somewhere and doing something. And and so I thought that okay, that was hard, and if we can make that easier, this is one of the things I thought a great use case for everything we come up with is okay, kids will be able to just get that information much more easily. They'll be able to they won't have to go to a library to look through all this stuff the old-fashioned way we did. They could get it, and they can. I mean, that's we have made that possible. Um, but at the same time, what we've made possible, of course, that we didn't anticipate, that nobody really anticipated. I can't remember anybody saying this ahead of time, that we were going to make it also vastly easier for people to share uh, junk, to
yeah,
just
and being
fill up
manipulated, and yeah,
and for and to not have uh, people prepared to distinguish the junk from the curated content. I mean, what we underestimated about libraries is that all of that stuff was curated in some way by human beings, and we don't have a similar curation mechanism, and
well,
so
no, and then
yeah,
we have yeah, sort of. As an example, I looked it up on Grokpedia, which is supposed to be the Grok version of Wikipedia, and so I looked up myself. For some reason I can't remember, just because I like to. I'm very vain, but anyway, it the first paragraph um, described me fairly well. It came up Steve Faulkner's Grokpedia page, fact checked by Grokpedia 2 weeks ago. So the first part was fine, but then the majority of it was about my football playing and my football
not
career. I've never, there was like 4 or 5 paragraphs after the initial
yeah.
paragraph of saying I did accessibility, and they talked about my football career. So they obviously munged, there must be a football player, they munged two lots of information together, and
Yeah.
ends up being shit. Um,
Well, so that at least is innocuous, right?
yeah,
But there's a lot of it that's non-innocuous, and um that's part of the reason why we've ended up where we are, is that people who are um bad actors who have malicious intentions have figured out ways to use the system to influence people.
well, yeah, they've worked out that they can buy the power, buy influence or whatever.
I mean, so I don't think that explains away everything, but at least as far as our sort of complicity in in the mess that things have become, we have to accept some responsibility for having been naive and not being able to anticipate the misuse to which what we have worked on uh, was gonna
Yeah,
be put. So, and
yeah.
I don't know how to fix it now, but yeah, I
Well, yeah,
hope.
I mean, yeah. I mean, for you and I to fix, all people like us to fix it, I don't know if that's possible. I mean, I think that what we actually need is a change in our political system and the economic system, because otherwise, it's just all downhill from here. Before I
Yeah,
leave you
well,
with
mm,
on an hour and a half now. Um,
Yeah, it's been a while.
before I leave you, I wanted to ask you about something. Are you aware of the bumping trend?
The bumping train,
Trend.
bumping trend.
Apparently,
I've
there's a walkway, there's a crosswalk in somewhere in Tokyo where all the lights go and then people just cross. You know, it's like a big intersection. Pat knew it. But
yeah, so
anyway,
there's a yeah.
I
Hmm.
read in the newspaper the other day that there's this trend that's going on. People are just pushing each other over in Tokyo, especially
I
men pushing women.
well, so I've heard of this. Now, part of the genesis of that, I think the way this has developed is it is quite crowded. Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's unique in maybe it's unique in degree, but as train stations, the public transport hubs go, there's a lot of people moving through certain places at the same time in the station, and and it requires people to be paying attention to what they're doing, even under the normal circumstances. But now that everybody has phones and they're carrying their phones, what you
Yeah,
see is a lot of people who are walking through this crowded place and they're not paying attention. They're instead looking down at their phones.
yeah,
And the expectation that they have is because I think in some cases, and what people take advantage of, these bumpers, is that they assume because they're looking down at their phone that whoever is in the vector of uh, movement in which they're headed has the responsibility to get out of their way,
yeah,
um, to
yeah,
realize I am on my phone, I'm not paying attention. So you need to recognize that you're going to run into me and step out of my way. Um, and of course, some people accidentally, or well, there could be, you got two people doing the same thing, of course. They're both
yeah,
looking down at their phones. They run into each other, and they both probably think the other person's to blame. But certainly there are other people, I think, who look for that. They look for
yeah.
that as an opportunity, right? I
To
want to look for the person who's doing that. And I mean, I haven't seen this happen, but I can imagine that's part of, like I said, the genesis of it is to take advantage of the fact that people are doing that anyway, and then bump into them. Um, I don't know. I mean, I've read about this as you have, but I don't know
I
how.
just read about it
Yeah.
and I thought, oh, sounds sounds interesting.
But
One
yeah, I mean,
other,
there's always
sorry,
more
go
to
on.
the story, right? It's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
like
for
a
sure.
completely random thing, but yeah, that's mostly my speculation about where it's coming from, is that it started from that, and it's probably, sort of like morphed into something beyond that, but that's probably how it started out.
Last question I have for you um, today is Brian Cardell. I caught up with Brian in. I went to a meet the tag in London a couple of weeks ago,
Oh,
and Brian
okay.
was there. It was at the Samsung XL because what's his name? Matthew works at Samsung. Matthew
Oh,
Atkinson.
right. Yep, yep, yep.
Yeah, and he's on the tag. But what what I wanted to ask you about is that Brian said that he was got onto the tag because it was a team pick. Is that something that occurs?
Well, yeah, so I there's at least one seat on the tag and maybe two where the W3C team, as what we call, which is the sort of term of art that we use for W3C employees. I mean,
Yeah,
everything's a team, right? And we're all a team. But when we say team in W3C jargon, it means the W3C staff collectively, you know, has responsibility for some things. And one of those things is choosing people for the tag. Um, Now, so yeah, well, I'll just say I don't always. participate in these discussions as actively as I should. And part of the
Sure.
reason is because, uh, well, not everybody tends to agree with my suggestions. Um, and
So
so I don't,
was
yeah,
Brian, was that a positive for you or?
I don't, I don't remember even the discussion about selecting Brian at the time.
I, the only reason why I ask is because I've seen Brian operate over the years, and I always thought of him more as a kingmaker. Like he was always behind the scenes politicking. So I understand from that aspect
Oh,
why
I don't
he.
think he did any. I doubt he did any lobbying. I do think I
Oh no, I
remember
wasn't
some.
talking about him lobbying to get on. I was just talking about him in general. He did lots of lobbying, and over the years to get people onto the tag or whatever.
Oh yeah. Well,
I mean,
Brian, well,
I
no.
wasn't. It's not a negative. It was just that's how he was working the rooms. So
Well, I mean, he's a he's a great um, addition to any sort of group because he does have this quality of not getting upset.
yeah,
You don't can't imagine Brian really raising his voice. I mean, he's got his own viewpoints about plenty of things, but like we were talking about at the beginning of this,
he's read Dale Carnegie. Yeah,
yeah, well, yeah, yes, the people, in an atmosphere where we often are disagreeing and there's acrimony and or opportunities for acrimony, Brian is certainly one of the people who uh, is not inclined to participate in the argumentative side of it.
yeah. No, he's
So
a
yeah,
great communicator. I mean,
but
yeah, he's a very
I
good.
don't remember when but I think I vaguely do remember being asked, okay, what do you think about Brian Cardell as an addition as after they probably already made a decision? Of course, I said, hell yeah, that's great. But that's the extent of my input into these discussions is kind of finding out after the fact was who's been decided on. I mean, this is not because I don't have opportunities,
Yeah,
and I am not because it's not like nobody's giving me a heads up. Hey, Mike, we're talking about picking somebody for the tag. It's just it's one of a number of things that I guess I don't feel like I'm the most. I don't have the greatest chance of success of getting my opinion. My opinion will be heard, but my opinion sort of convincing anybody else about anything in those discussions. So
yeah.
I don't know. I should try harder, I suppose.
Well, I think
But yeah.
he's a great addition. I mean, I just like the guy. He's always good to talk to. He's got interesting ideas. So yeah,
Well, so I could say the other way, it always works out too. I mean, I can't think of anybody who's been a team appointed to the tag where I looked at it and said, "Oh, that was a horrible decision." I'd certainly say in the case of Brian, despite me having at best sort of a minimal kind of support at the end for saying, "Yeah, yeah, we should do that." Yeah, I mean, he got on the tag, and that was a great addition to the tag. So the lesson I should probably learn is that I'm better off not, being
but yeah,
directly involved in the decision making there because it works out pretty well without me. So, uh,
yeah, I gotcha. Okay, well, thanks, Mike. It's been
well, let's
a
do this
blast
again.
chatting to you.
If Hayden gets to do two of these, then I think I should be able to do at
Oh
least
well,
two of
yes,
them.
yes.
So,
I'll get you on a second time. Don't worry. I've
all
got
right.
um, I've got some coming up. I've got Sarah Suden. I can never
Oh
remember.
wow, yeah.
Yeah, Jared Cohen. I got Dave Swallow, and
That'll be
I've
great.
got Doug Sheppers.
Oh,
Um,
Doug's gonna be on. That'll be
yeah,
fun as
Aaron
hell.
Gustafson. I've got like I when I started this, I thought I'd do half a dozen. That's it. And now I'm up to well, you're the 13th episode, and yeah, I've got loads more to do, and
Well,
I'm enjoying it.
yeah. Look forward to all of them, man. And
Yeah.
thanks for thinking of me.
No, it's interesting perspective. You've been very serious, but that's fine.
Yeah. Well, next time we'll try to we get Pat on. You get the two
Yeah,
of you, get the
yeah,
three.
we could do
You
that.
get Pat
Al-
and yeah.
Also, what I've been chatting with Billy Gregory. Do you know Billy, or you know
I
of him?
know just Billy from you and from seeing the
Yeah.
stuff that you've
So,
done together.
well, he's one of the organisers of XSVTO, which is a conference, and I was pitched to him and the idea of doing like an event, like one evening we have like a fireside chat shorts, just get people
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
10 minutes, have a chat, have a drink.
That would be
So
great.
yeah, hopefully that'll happen because yeah, there's lots of I I like talking to people and yeah,
Well, I what I meant about getting Pat on is to get the combination of you and Pat
yes.
at the same time. And then if you want me to be less serious, I will be incapable of sustaining seriousness for too long
Well,
if it's
next
you and
time you
Pat
come
together.
on, I'll get Pat to co-host, or you
That would
can
be great.
have a
That
round
would.
table. I don't really see me as being the host. It was just a conversation. But thanks, Mike, and
All
hope your
right.
family are well and
Yep.
kids are doing
Yep. Thanks.
fine. And
Same
remember,
for you.
part of the wonderment of being on the fireside chat is that you get to choose an item from the HTML store, whatever you
Oh
want,
yeah.
and I'll send it to you.
All right. There's definitely something I want. I haven't looked for a while, but yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
whatever you want, just tell me and give me the size and the color, etc. And I will send it. It'll be on its way.
right on.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Right. Yeah. Thanks,
Look,
Steve.
look
Bye.
after yourself.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye bye.